So I'm very excited to say this afternoon I have Arlene Grosso and Lori Collins, two good friends of mine, and we're going to talk about fall prevention because that is near and dear to my heart. My feeling with my caregivers and their loved ones, the biggest issues is over medication. I'm so glad that you're here today. We've had an exciting conference, and like I say, this piece right here is near and dear to my heart. I always say to caregivers, the fall can be the end. And I'm really concerned about that. But I'm hoping we're going to talk about the great work that's been going on that are preventing these calls, and your statistics just are off the wall fabulous. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, is Arlene coming on?
Arlene Grasso, he's got to let her in. 1 second. Arlene Grosso.
You gotta accept that. Tell her to accept the panelist.
Okay.
There she is.
Yeah. There's her name. Hello, Arlene. Oh, I think she's coming now.
There we go.
Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
I see your screen. I see you. I see Linda. I see.
Okay.
We don't see. Maybe I'm coming on now.
So, Arlene, you need to put your camera on.
It is on, dear. It is on.
We don't see you.
I'm sorry. I've got my light on.
Click on your picture, and on the right-hand side at the top, there's 3 dots. And it says start your video.
No, it doesn't. It says stop my video. My light's on. Sorry about this, but
you don't have that little sticky on top, do you? Over your camera, some people put a little sticky because they don't want people to see.
No. I turn it on and off manually, but it's on.
I don't know, Arlene. I'm going to go downstairs and talk to my producer for a moment.
Okay. Well, I can still talk about this, right? We could start on with the show.
Yeah.
And you see this, our presentation, Arlene?
I do. It says
okay.
Finding the Why in the Fall.
All right.
Well, it's Arlene and Lori, and Lori looks so lovely today. And I guess I don't look at all.
He said if you go to your settings and make sure you pick the right video camera. So if you can try that, if not, we'll just go ahead without it. It's just 1 o'clock now, so it's no big deal.
Okay, sorry. Going into my video settings.
Okay.
It's the same as it always has been. I don't know why it's not coming through to you. Sorry, but it's okay. Yeah. I can still talk.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda, number 1, for letting us talk about falls. Lori and I are so passionate about it. I think we live, breathe, and eat falls prevention. So a lot of coalitions around the country only celebrate falls prevention 1 time a week or 1 day a week, and that's in September. We have a big to-do in September because last year we had an event every day in the state of Florida for Falls Prevention Month. So it was 30 different events and more. Sometimes we had 2 in 1 day, and they were all creative and wonderful, and hundreds of people attended them. And I think that that's what helped. Lori's going to go over the stats of how Pinellas County is doing, but I have to tell you, if you live in Pinellas County, you are one lucky person because your EMS and Regional 911 is really, truly the best in the nation. Their response time is good, but they got people that work every day to not only keep you safe from falls, but safe from all other things too.
And,
So,
and they're educated. They're well educated on these topics.
Well, they consistently research it. They consistently dig for more information. You know, once you stop learning, you stop growing, and you get old. So it's a good thing to continually keep that mind working, and they do. There's always a better and better way to do things, and that's what they strive for. You know, our coalition is made up now of many different professionals in the state of Florida, the Human Services Department, not only of the county, of several counties, the state of Florida Health, state of Florida Department of Elder Affairs. We have a lot of the AAA, or the Area Agency on Aging. We have Linda Burhans, of course, as part of the coalition. We have so many different people that are involved with senior services. So we have such a great bank of people to play off one another and to continually improve our falls prevention programs. We say that the three things that we stand for are awareness, education, and resources. Those are the things that we work very hard on. Most coalitions in the United States, again, only focus on that Falls Prevention Week. And it's always promoted by the National Coalition on Aging, the NCOA. You can go to ncoa.org for all sorts of falls prevention information, and you can search for falls prevention coalitions to see if your state has one, if you're in a different state. There's so many, and some of the states don't have one, and some are in the process of having one. But you can always use our contacts at the end of this presentation to ask us anything about falls, and we're going to help you. Every 11 seconds, okay, somebody is going to take a fall, and they're going to go be treated into an emergency room. That's horrible. 1 in 4 people are going to take a fall over the age of 65. But you know what? There's really always light at the end of that tunnel, and that is because most falls are preventable. But the big problem we see, and that's why Lori came up with the topic on this particular segment, is finding the why. If we can find out why people fall and how they fell, there's a good chance that you can correct it. Because the second fall, there's a 40% chance after your first fall, you're going to have another one, and that's the one that usually does people in. The 6 steps of falls prevention is like the core of information of our coalition, and really all the coalitions across the United States. Number 1, enroll in a good balance and exercise program. Number 2, ask your doctor to assess your risk of falling. And, you know, it's really important to do that. And it's not bad. It's not a bad idea to take your caregiver with you. Or someone, a friend, so that in case you're not getting all the information on the steps that you can do to help on your assessment to help you avoid falls, that other person will be there to remind you.
Yeah,
And
the more the merrier.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Number 3, review your meds with your doctor or pharmacist. You should be bringing all your medications from every doctor that you see to your primary and then to your specialist, because sometimes they don't have all the information. Okay, we're only as good as what people input into the systems. Okay, so we're all human. There's going to be some mistakes. Always take your medications and cart them with you to each doctor that you see so that they're sure that they have a very good understanding of exactly what you're taking.
And Arlene, that's including your over-the-counter stuff that you're taking.
Yes, vitamins too. You know,
Yep.
there are certain people who take way too many vitamins, and
Yep.
it really causes some reactions and interactions with your medications. And that can cause a fall. There's so many things that can cause a fall, but be aware of it and don't let it happen to you.
Right.
So, they're going to tell you if something is going to be a bad interaction. And then if you're thinking of slipping in a diet pill without doctor's permission, don't do that. If you're on any medication at all and you want to take anything that you see advertised, Preventable for better memory, anything at all, make sure you check with your doctor before you add that to your regimen.
Yes.
Make that promise to yourself and to your loved ones. Get your vision checked and your hearing annually. very, very important. Poor vision really can lead to a lot of falls. So if you're having trouble seeing things, blue, green, and red are the three colors you should be focusing on. Those are called the spectral colors, and those are easier for people with lessening vision to see. And of course, lighting. Ramp up that lighting. Number 5 is removing tripping hazards from your home, and we're going to go over a lot of those today. And then 6 is talk to your family members and engage them in your aging process. They need to know how you're feeling, what you're doing, and they probably have some good ideas for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of like our introduction.
And so I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Lori Collins, and I'm with Pinellas County 911, and I'm the outreach coordinator that really looks at the fall data that we have and the calls that we get for service in Pinellas County. And one of the things we started in 2017 was realizing that one of our top calls for service was for falls. And so again, with what Arlene said, falls are preventable. And one of the things as we started going back to people's homes over and over again, we started realizing that they were falling in the same way, with the same issues, with the same situations. And so we really wanted to come out with a program, which is really, as we've said, prevent the fall, prevent the call. But we also want to find the why, finding the why in the fall. If you can figure out why that person has fallen, look, there she is. If you can find out why that person has fallen, then you can do some very simple to minimal to major things that you could do that could prevent the fall. Now, in 2023, Pinellas County, we received 758,000 calls to 911. Out of those, our medical calls obviously are one of our top issues, but in the medical category, we received almost 28,000 calls for falls. Now, the good thing was our fall category actually went down. So we had an increase in 10,000 in our population, and yet we were able to reduce the physical number of falls that we had in the county, or calls for falls. Now, this does not include the hospitals, it does not include doctors, it does not include urgent care, but the reason why we track the fall calls is because it gives us a good idea of what we do. And as we go through this presentation, we're going to tell you some of the programming we do, but we have found that when we do intense, ongoing and everyday programming in Pinellas County, we have saved falls. As of today, we actually have 10 less calls for falls than we did a year ago at the same time. The reason why that's important, because prior to this, we were going up 1,200 calls a year. Now we've had, for the second year, we're reducing the number of calls for falls, which we believe those 10 calls for falls that we saved, what if they were 10 broken hips, 10 injuries, or 10 deaths? So by doing that, I think we're actually preventing the fall and preventing the call. So Arlene, why don't you go over some of the things that we're doing in Pinellas County? And again, if you want any of this information, we're going to share that with you and share our contact information at the end. But Arlene, show them what we're doing.
Well, we're doing an awful lot, which I'm so proud of. When we were a small committee and then grew because of our interaction with Regional 911 and the fire department educators, there were boots on the ground to do all these programs. So, I mean, it's great to do the programs, but if you don't have people to facilitate it and distribute it, it's not going to help. So the more people we get involved with the coalition, the more research we can do and the more programs we can do. But one of the things that I think was the greatest thing, it was actually my grandson that gave me the idea to do an intergenerational flower coloring project for children to give to their grandparents or special older adult. Because he said, Grandma, you're always talking about falls prevention. He said, why don't you just have the grandkids tell the grandparents about it? And I went, wow, oh, okay. He says, well, like when mom tells you something, you don't listen. So I bet you when I tell you something, you're all ears. So I really think that you should do something for the grandkids. So intergenerational flower power, this was done. Well, this is really one of our first ones, and I really hate to replace it because it's very special. But it can either be in a little flower pot, or it can actually be pasted on a construction paper for easy mailing. We had one school, an art department in middle school in St. Petersburg that had 500 art students, and the teacher was fantastic. And she said, gee, could they do another 500? Because they love doing this. And not only were they doing the activity, but they were learning about falls prevention at the same time. And at the end of the class and at the end of their project, they could name all the 6 steps of falls prevention from NCOA, which that's based on. So it was really a wonderful program.
Yeah, there's absolutely fabulous, because we need to educate our kids about everything we're going through too.
Yeah. And kids fall too. Yeah.
The kids are smart.
So, then there was always the blank that seniors should color. So we tried giving seniors the same project, and they really didn't like it. They didn't have a big interest in it. But then Lori and the gals from St. Petersburg developed the Steps to Senior Safety, which is a senior activity coloring book, an activity book with a word search and crossword puzzle based again on the 6 steps of falls prevention. And the seniors absolutely love it because it says senior on it, and it's for them. It's not for the kids. That's been so good. To adult daycares, there's one of the biggest things that we're doing in September. We made arrangements with the Neighborly Network, who does the Meals on Wheels here in Pinellas County, and we will be sending that book along with other good things, Nightlight, etc., to all the homebound people that receive the Meals on Wheels. For a long time, we wanted to realize, how can we reach the people who don't get out and can't attend any programs or can't get out to do exercise? It's very important that they have that information too. So we're so excited that we're going to have complete control of Pinellas County Meals on Wheels in September and deliver all those. The Denying Gravity play, I don't know if you live in the area, it'll be coming up again in September. That's when they usually have it. And then of course, SAGES is the Senior Actors Guild with a focus on senior education. And they have a new one out about memory care. They have one for fraud prevention. So if you ever go to SAGES and search it in Google, you'll find really good educational activities. Saving Claire documentary is something that Lori and I both worked on. In fact, we're actually featured in the film, but in fact, Lori has the best line of all. If the fire department comes, you may not be wearing your best look if you slip in the bathtub, right? But Saving Claire is a wonderful film. And it is a story of how the play got together, but it is also weaving in experts in and out to show you different things about falls prevention. And it is really one of the best films on falls prevention I've seen. Yes, falls prevention is all year for us, and
because falls are all year.
yeah, it's not just 1 week or 1 day in September.
Yeah,
and I'll say too that one of the things we found at 911 is that 85 out of our top 100 highest utilizers by address were assisted living or nursing homes. So one of the things that the coalition has done is put together a comprehensive program that we're taking to all of the facilities, and we're doing them in a group kind of situation, but we come in and do all different types of educational activities. We meet with the administration, the staff, the nursing staff, care staff. We meet with the residents. We do fall prevention bingo and Jeopardy. We do home assessments in their apartments or their living areas. So we work together with the facilities and the residents to make sure that we can prevent a fall in that facility, because again, we want to make sure that people live, no matter where they are, they live safely and healthily as long as possible. So some of those activities are pretty awesome, and the coalition is going really well. So
And I have to say that when they had the pilot program of 3 of the top utilizers of facilities several years ago, that after the program was completed, their calls dropped 14%. So their falls actually dropped 14% in those facilities, which is a lot.
And one of the things we want to say is that the fire department and the 911 EMS system, we're your safety net. We're not your caregivers. We're not your, participating in activities of daily living. So one of the things we talk about is if we're going to a lift assist in a facility, that's not something necessarily that we want to be doing. If we're transferring someone from the chair to the bed, that's not a 911 activity, but it certainly is if they're on the floor or if they can't get up from there. So there's a reason why people fall, and what the presentation we're going to do is really talk about the issues of falling. So one of the things we found when we were doing our coalition work is that people don't tell you that they've fallen. In fact, we found that on an average, they had a 5 falls before they actually were able to be injured or be comfortable enough to tell someone. And we want to reverse that trend. We want to talk to people and say, look, tell us the first time you fall. That way, whether you're a family member or whether you're a care facility, we don't want to move you to a higher level of care. We don't want to move you out of your home. So the sooner you tell us you have an issue, we can find the why, and then we can prevent that from happening again.
Yeah. Because I think the big thing is nobody's ever going to tell their kids that they fell if they can avoid it, because they're afraid they're going to lose their independence. I think that's the biggest part of it.
So if we can get their trust to say, let's work with you. For example, I'm doing tons of stuff in my house and I'm getting myself ready to live comfortably and safely and long in my house. And sometimes it freaks out my kids a little bit, but I say, nothing's wrong. I just don't want to ever have to be dependent on you. So the more safely I can live in my house, the better. So with Arlene, one of the things she talks about is the planning for aging.
Yeah. Well, I'm a licensed building contractor that in 2015 opened up a business here in Pinellas County after my mom had died in a nursing home. And all she wanted to do was to go back home to her assisted living apartment. But it wasn't possible because of her dementia. So people need to plan. But they need to plan early. I tell people at age 50, you should sit down and say, do we want to stay in this house forever? Let's start looking at things that we might want to do now, because we don't want to have a huge bill all at one time. It's inevitable that you will probably have some type of physical challenge when you get older. And God willing, you live long enough to have those physical challenges.
Well, that's why we're having them, because we live so much longer than we ever did before.
That's right. So, having to do it all at one time it can be devastating financially.
Yeah.
And there's like 3 different types of falls. There's the traumatic after a traumatic injury, like spinal cord and brain injury because of an accident or a fall off a roof. There's the progressive illness that you have to plan for, that you don't have to do everything at one time. You can do it in stages. We see so many people that say, oh, we're going to select you to do the work because you're not telling us to do everything all at once. I said, well, you don't need to do everything all at once. As your illness progresses, you need to progress the amount of devices that you have to help you. And then there's the chronic illness that just keeps on getting worse and worse. But for chronic illnesses, there's so many things that you really need to do. So different issues cause different types of environmental modifications in your home. But the most important thing is to plan before the fall. Unfortunately, I became aware of falls prevention very early on in my business. It was the first call we ever received. And they said, oh, can you help me? My husband's in rehab. He fell and he's now in a wheelchair and we need a ramp tomorrow because he's being discharged. So it's always last minute. When we try to talk to people about falls prevention, and planning, there's that ageism factor, like, oh, I don't need that. I remember going to my first having a booth at one of the health fairs. And I finally realized that people don't want to talk to me because they see falls prevention and they go, oh, not me, that's not me. And they like look the other way. So I stood outside the booth with business cards and I said, here, take my card. You don't need me now, but when you need me, give it to your daughter, your son, your loved one, your neighbor, whomever, and they'll have them call me and I'll explain what you need to do when you get out of the hospital from a fall. If you don't need to ever call me, great. Won't that be nice?
Yeah.
And that's one of the issues that, again, we run in with 911. So we will have patients that'll be discharged from a hospital, will not be able to navigate with dignity within their home, and then eventually that becomes an issue that they end up having to call 911 for. So 911, again, is a rescue net. It's a safety net. It's not something, that is for a daily activity. So the ability to plan, the ability to do little adaptive stuff. Now, the conference stuff I saw today was amazing, and some of the technology and some of the things that we have. I even wrote down a couple things because I'm modifying my house to stay as long as possible. So, but I thought what we could do is kind of go through, look, there's always a reason of a fall. There's always a reason why. So whether it's I tripped. Well, why did you trip? Was it your shoes? Were you not paying attention? Were you doing whatever? So there's always a why. There's always a reason, as Dr. Jameson, our medical director here in Pinellas County, says, they're on the floor for a reason. And we need to figure out why they're on the floor so that they don't end up on the floor again. So there's always things that you can do to prevent a fall. And there's always modifications, minor to major things that you could do. Again, Arlene focused on planning. So I'm doing the little stuff, I'm doing the minor stuff. But one of the big things that we find falls is in the bathroom. So the 911 center, predominantly, we will find people that will have a fall in a bathroom. So there's a couple little things that you can do. First off, changing the mats out. A lot of people will dry off and then throw the towel on the floor, step on it the wrong way. Maybe you're just off a little balance, and then you end up slipping and tripping on that rug or that towel. So having a bath mat with a grip, having the shower, having those grab bars. When I had them installed in my house, again, my kids freaked out and said, "What's wrong with you, Mom?" I said, Nothing. I'm just preparing myself. And the fall in the bathroom may just be that you turned around, you got some shampoo in your eyes, and you reached for something and you grabbed the shower curtain instead, and down you went. So having those grab bars, that's such a valuable thing. Now, the toilet seats, you think, oh, it's not a big deal, but having those little side rails on the toilet, and they connect just where you connect your toilet seat lid. So those are just a simple, easy way that you can modify it so that you get a little bit more help up and down when you're hitting the bathroom. There's different kinds of side rails that you can install, whether it's from the toilet seat or whether it's from the wall. And again, the one I love is, my dad had talked about putting in some taller toilets. And I said, well, they're a couple $100 and you got to hire someone to come out. But here's an alternative. So a raised toilet seat that attaches on. And again, one of the things, remember to keep checking to make sure it's screwed on tight, because they do unscrew sometimes. But even having the handles on it, it gives you that little bit of being able to get back up comfortably. We do get calls from people at 911 that say, I was on the toilet and I can't stand up now. And having these rails will be able to make that comfortable. And again, less of a hassle than having to call someone, whether it's your neighbor, your family, or 911. You can do them with or without the grab bars or the side rails. Another one that I thought was amazing is, okay, so you're renting or maybe something's happening, you can't put in the grab bars, or maybe you're not going to be there long enough. But here's something that's super amazing. It's a tension bar. It's something that you can put in and put right next to the shower.
That's right.
Let me just make a note of that. Those are especially good for people who have plastic tub surrounds. You cannot drill into a plastic tub surround and put in a grab bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the floor to ceiling is the best alternative that you have if you don't have ceramic tile and enough backing behind the wall.
Well,
Okay.
and then you could do a little pole dancing too.
Well, yes.
Now they're
There's
not
always
as strong as they
entertainment.
look.
I'm just kidding.
But the other thing we talk about is, look, if you can't remodel your bathroom, because they're offering some crazy prices on remodeling bathrooms. So do shop
That's right.
around, make sure that you get one that is a comfortable price and that it's a good, reasonable price. But say that you can't change the shower and you've got a tub here. So a transfer chair like this is awesome. You can sit in it, slide right over, have the shower or the bath, and then slide right back out. So that's another good thing that you can do. Now, this is for me as a grandma. Now, it's not as a grandma because I'm falling out of bed, but because I have my grandkids over. And so when I have the little ones over, I actually have one of these in the bedroom that I can fold up and fold down. So when the grandkids come over and we're hanging watching TV or we fall asleep, that we have them safely not to fall out of bed. So there's a couple things with these that are nice. One is to prevent you from falling out of bed, and the other one is giving you a little bit of a lever to stand up in and out of the bed. You can also do risers on the bottom of the bed, but this is kind of a nice way to prevent falling out of, or when you're standing up, to have a little bit of a secure grip. Super easy. They run $20 to $30 depending on which one you want. So it's kind of a nice thing to do as well. Now, when we talk about the kitchen, couple things with the kitchen is that there's a lot of adaptive equipment that you can use, including using the shelf and lowering them down. So you could do that whether you're in a chair, whether you're standing up. Still, these are kind of nice options.
That's very cool. I never saw that before.
Yeah, that's called Rev, R-E-V, Rev Shelf is the brand. It's on a hydraulic, so you can have heavy cans on the top shelf of what's being pulled down. And you can take one hand. And for those people with arthritis, diabetes, with having grip problems, you just press down on it like this, and you can bring the shelf down so easily because, again, it's on a hydraulic.
That's great.
Yeah. And the other thing in the kitchen, one of the things we find is, if you're picking up stuff, if you're bending down to get things or whatever, that can also cause a dizzy issue. So we want to make sure that maybe you have a grabber tool that you can hang up in your kitchen there. And if something falls on the ground or you've got a spill or something, you can use that tool instead of, again, reaching down, standing up all of the time. You can even use it to grab stuff. But you know what? I would love it if you took the items that you use all the time and put them on the lower shelf. Yeah. So maybe instead of pulling down all the dishes and stuff, have a couple dishes on a nice little mat and have those available for you right on the counter space. If you use certain spices or items, bring them down so that you're not reaching. When you reach and you lose your balance, those are times that you may end up in a fall. So a kitchen area can be something you want to be super careful about. Now, we'll talk about this again in a little bit, but always clean up spills and messes in the kitchen so that it doesn't become a fall issue. Now, that's a little bit about the bathroom and the kitchen, but so Arlene, why don't you talk about the living rooms?
Well, these are great cartoons showing you the way actually some people live, okay, and much worse. Clutter is one of the biggest problems we see in people who don't get out too often. People who are isolated, who don't have the social interaction with other people, and those people who don't come over to visit, if you don't have a lot of visitors, they tend to have more clutter. Very dangerous. You need to have a good pathway, especially at night from the bed to the bathroom. But importantly enough, in the living area where you spend probably most of your time. If you see there's stuff, if you have stairs, don't put things on your stairs. That's just not a good idea. There's not even a handrail on both sides. Yeah. I can see somebody just falling right off. Open medication box. That's just not good. Okay, look at all the cords running around. You
Yeah.
know, and we say, oh, well, that's not me. But even if you're vacuuming, okay, you've got to be really aware of that cord. Being aware of everything is the best tool for falls prevention. And then you got, you know, the kitty cat, and you have all these other things. The telephone is way too far away. He's got to get up to go trip over the throw rug,
Yep.
which is not secured, to get to the phone. Okay, and very, very little lighting, 2 lamps in this huge room. Okay, lighting is so important. Natural light. Sometimes we go into people's homes for an assessment, and they have all the blinds drawn and no lights on. I don't know. That's just really depressing to me.
Yeah.
So open up your blinds. You can close them at night. You know, you don't want your neighbor seeing your beautiful frilly pink nightgown, I suppose. You know, so you can close them at night, but during the day you should have your blinds open and admit natural sunlight.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's just so many items. If you look around, you're going to spot them. And there's just a lot of good information too. And in the AARP Home Fit Guide tells you a lot about the living room, what you can do. And that's aarp.org/homefit, HOMEFIT. Oh, proper footwear. Okay. Actually, we had Dr. Jackie Osborne of Brooks Brooks Rehabilitation Center, who's a doctor of physical therapist there, and she did a narrative about how you should have your shoes being fitted. It's very important. You know, she's telling us that if there's a bigger shoe size because you're trying to accommodate some type of ailment like a bunion, and you think that a bigger shoe is going to be the answer, it's not. A shoe that's too big can most likely cause a fall. So make sure that you go to a shoe store that specializes in, or if you visit a podiatrist, they're the best people to give you the answers on what kind of shoes you should have. The length of the shoe, if it's too long, you could catch your toe on different objects. You know, we had someone who broke their hip because she had designer sandals on, you know, the really skinniest sole you could ever imagine. Very expensive. Always bothers me that she paid way too much for it and got much less material because the sole was like this. But the tip of it, because her toes didn't go to the end of it, the tip of it caught on a quarter of an inch difference in her flooring. And she took a tumble, broke her hip.
And how much does that cost you?
Well, that's just it. You know,
Yep.
Penny wise, dollar foolish.
Yep.
Okay. The width of the shoe too. Make sure that your shoes are adjustable. Especially if you have different conditions that cause your feet to swell at night or through walking, you know, have any swelling at all. You know, either Velcro closers or laces so that you can adjust the width of that shoe. The weight of the shoe is really lighter weight. Shoes are made of materials such as mesh or canvas, and they're much easier. If the shoe is too heavy, your gait isn't going to be correct. It's going to be too hard to lift up that foot to take a step. So be cognizant of the weight of the shoe and the style of the shoe too.
I think that's very interesting I think that's very interesting you said that, because I think some people would think the heavier the shoe is going to hold me up better. But then you're not lifting your feet as much. So, yeah.
Right. It's going to limit the ability to lift your leg so that the entire foot can clear an obstacle, a curb or step.
Yeah.
Carpet. Okay.
Yep.
And they're made of leather. Most of them are made of leather and things like that. So the lighter weight shoes, but with a good sole. So the sole of the shoe is really important. Okay. And it can be of different materials like leather, canvas, cork. But you know, you have to make sure that the bottom of your shoe has certain friction to it if you're going to if it's going to go near something that's wet. Okay. So be cognizant of that. And the shoe people will tell you what's a good shoe for that or not. And remember that open-toed sandals are very stylish, but it's not a good idea. There's too many accidents with trip and falls with the sandals. Heel height. I see a lot of people with these platform shoes. The higher the sole, the harder it is for you to navigate. Okay. Now the soles also have rockers. Okay. They have a rocker so that it'll propel you to help you walk. A lot of diabetes patients will, the podiatrist has the rocker, the soles right in their office to help them propel better. So remember that a tennis shoe is probably your best bet, something like a tennis shoe. Make sure that it allows your toes to wiggle. It's lightweight, has a supportive sole, it's closed toe, and it has laces or Velcro to adjust. Okay, so there's a lot in footwear, and those fuzzy slippers that have no backs on them, or the slippers that have no backs on them. Don't we, Becky? We have a very dear friend that went out to the mailbox in her fuzzy slippers with no backs on, fell, and almost lost her eye. She
goodness.
Had a terrible injury.
Oh my goodness.
So please, even in the morning, don't put the fuzzy slippers on with no stability to them. You can get slippers that are like shoes, have soles and some so that your foot is very secure in there. So all these things are inexpensive tools to help you stay upright. That's our goal. Stay upright.
So while you're outside, it's really important to make sure that you keep a cell phone handy. One of the things we talked about was if people were outside, and again, having some of the different things that you could bring with you. So having a walker, having something that has a chair. If you're outside gardening and you fall over and you have a cell phone with you, you're able to call emergency services for help. So whether you have an Apple Watch or whether you have a cell phone with you or some kind of device, I think it'll be super important to be able to have those, again, a little bit of an assistive device to make sure that you can get where you want to go. The other thing is with canes, canes, there's all different kinds of canes, different purposes, different reasons. But again, having something with you, one of the things that we find in the Denying Gravity play, that the people will come up to our booths afterwards and say, you know what? I have a cane in the car, but I probably should bring it with me. And there's ones that are collapsible, so you can just keep them in your purse. And if you need it, you fold it out, you use it. If it's unsteady ground, that'll be another way that'll be super important to be able to keep you upright. Now, Arlene, I think you talked about, getting your eyes and your hearing checked on a regular basis. And again, some of the reasons why are simply because your medication may change, your vision may change, something may happen that, again, is causing you to fall. If you get the different type of progressive lenses, you got to make sure you practice with those, because those can actually cause you to be dizzy and cause you to have unsafe vision until you get used to the progressiveness of them. But Arlene, the other thing that you spoke about was a little bit about the medication. So do you want to talk about that?
Well, again, it's just so important that you keep in contact with your doctor on your visits to bring them all with you. And again, as Linda mentioned, whatever supplements you're taking can play a big part in that too. There are so many medication reminders out there. We just had a gentleman at our meeting, at our Falls Prevention Coalition meeting, that has an app that will remind people to do their medication. Nothing out there that I know of outside of actually being there to dole out the medication. Okay. But again, with people with cognitive difficulties, the greater the cognitive difficulty, the greater chance of them either overdosing or under medicating. Okay, so it's really something to watch as caregivers. If you can, to have some type of system that works for you, that you're making sure that that person is taking the medication as directed, taking it when it's needed, and taking the right amount. It's
and
just,
I might suggest, if you're going to more than one doctor, which many people are, just ask your pharmacist to look at all the different medications you're taking, they're all in one spot, and he can see it, because we are very over medicated in our society. And many times you can find, or sometimes someone's just been taking a medication for a long time and it's not an issue anymore, but they just keep taking it. So try to reduce your medications.
You know, when you go to the pharmacy, if you walk in and not go to the drive-through, there's a pickup line and then there's a sign that says consultation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may have to wait a couple minutes, but when you have a couple extra minutes, just have them look up your record, say, you know, can you just make sure that I'm not having any adverse interactions and that all my medications are listed in one spot? And they can do that. That's their job. That's what they study. So good point, Linda.
So the other thing we talk about, and we work with Health Buddies, which is an amazing organization, and Arlene will explain some of those resources at the end. But one of the things they found in our Health Buddies program is that people were tripping over their pets. And so if you've got, and I have elderly dogs, so I take in elderly dogs, and what I find is they can't see me, they can't hear me, and they're always underfoot. So I walk very slowly in my house because this picture is exactly what happens. People will start walking, your cat or your dog will slide right in there because they love you, and you will trip and fall. So a couple of things that we talked about, Arlene had brought up, you know, that she uses an automatic feeder and water system. And I was able to actually get a water system that is a long-term one so that I'm not bending down, changing it, worried about it slopping water all over the place. So there's some amazing things that you can use, but you can also train your animals not to be underfoot. You can stop. I will always stop and let them go first. And they've got a great little tool that she's got there where you can pull it up, put the water and the dog food in, and lower it back down to the ground.
That's a fabulous tool. And I'll
Super
tell you
fun.
On Amazon.
Yeah.
This is because I don't want you bending or stretching, bending or reaching, bending or reaching. Don't do that. Two things that cause falls.
Yeah, well, you know, I have a puppy and I trained him. There's like a little bench by my front door. When we're going to go out to walk, he jumps up on there so I don't have to lean all the way down the floor to hook the leash on him.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just gotta be thinking about it.
Yep. And the CDC says dogs cause 88% of the falls. So cats aren't the issue, but the dogs are a little bit more underneath foot. So just being aware when you're doing that. So those little things that you can do, a little pull-up thing that you can put the food and water in and lower back down to the ground, having your pet jump up. Those are some amazing things that you can do. Simple, easy, low cost, no cost. And the other thing that we talk about is, especially with pets, especially with family, is that night lights are always a help. My house is lit up like a Christmas tree because I have night lights in every room. I have motion lights. So I have motion activated lights in the hallway, in areas that I don't go into very much. I have it in the garage area. So when I walk into a room, there's some light that comes on. Now, the reason
why the exact same thing. When I walk up my stairs, it lights up, and when I go in my bathroom, the toilet bowl lights up.
Yep. And those are things, again, simple little things that you can plug in or you can just use a battery. I've got some night lights, large motion lights that are actually, I've had the batteries in for 2 years now and they're going strong. So for Christmas, I always ask the kids for C and D size batteries so I can change out all my night lights. But those are some things that, again, simple, easy things that you can do. You could do today. Grab some night lights and be able to turn them on. The other thing is an exercise program. You know, it's all fine and dandy if we do stuff and we prevent falls, but if there's a spill on the floor and we go to grab the kitchen counter, but our strength is not good enough, then we're going to fall. And so just something simple is during a TV commercial, you know, take a water bottle and do exercises and do grip strength and do things that, you know, will prevent you from being able to not grip those. So if you do the work and you do an exercise program, and there's lots of amazing matter of balance programs. There's a lot of exercise programs you can do, but it's actually kind of something pretty amazing that you want to think about and do a little bit at a time. Now, I know on the last the speaker before, he had some great electronic and technology things. And so the Google and home devices, there's some amazing skills that are tied to that. I actually have the Google devices and the Echo Show with my parents. So when I call them, I'm able to see them, I talk to them, I can see what they are looking like, if they're a little tired, if they're not feeling well, if something's happening. But at the same time, I can also drop into the Alexa, because I have Alexa devices in all of my rooms. If I think that someone's in another room, or I can just drop into that and say, hey, are you there? You know, could you come help me or whatever? So having these Alexa devices, there's some skills that you can use with it. They have a new Alexa Care Hub, which allows you and a caregiver to have that same, you tie your Alexa or your Amazon devices together, and you're able to communicate back and forth. And you can set up reminders. So for example, if you have medication reminders, you could do it every day. You could have the reminders that they come up and say, oh, it's time to take your medication. Or you can do check-ins. Now, there's a really cool skill called Ask My Buddy. And basically, anywhere you are, if you're on the ground, you can say, Alexa, ask my buddy to call my contacts. And then that allows a digital phone call that they would come on a robot. I would say, Lori Collins is having an emergency, please respond. Then it sends a text to your loved one that says, again, Lori Collins is having an emergency, please respond. So they can call the house if they don't get a hold of me, they can call emergency services, or they can respond over to the house and see if everything's okay. Now, Arlene's going to talk a little bit about this, but there's also, you can ask Uber for a ride skill. So you can just say to them, you know, Alexa, can you schedule a ride with Uber? And then also the smart lights. You know, I have all of my lights are on smart lights. So I walk into the house and I go, Alexa, turn on the living room, turn on the bedroom, turn on the patio, and my whole house lights up. Why is that important? Again, I don't know where the dogs are. I want them to see, I want them to know I'm home, and I want to be able to count the dogs so that I could actually know where each one of them are. But it gives you that lighting. You can also, from your car, you can turn on your patio light so that, again, you walk up, your patio light is already on. Now, they have a really cool app called SnugSafe, and it is a thing that you check in. So you set it up with a caregiver and you have your loved one or your caregiver. And every morning it comes on and it says, check in if you're okay. You hit the green button, everything's fine. You set a period of time, whether it's an hour or so or a couple hours. If they don't check in, then your loved one or their emergency contact is then given a text that you haven't checked in. That way, again, you can have that communication back and forth with your loved one. Now, the Alexa and Google cameras are kind of controversial. I happen to like them because my kids have access to the cameras, and I tell them, don't turn them on because you don't know what you're going to see. But if they can't get a hold of me, if I don't answer the phone and I don't answer the door or whatever, they can turn those cameras on in the main areas of my house and know if I'm on the floor or if I'm unconscious somewhere or something's happening. So say that you have family that lives half hour, an hour away, and they don't pick up the phone, you're scheduled to talk to them, they're not answering the phone. What if you were to turn the cameras on and say, oh my gosh, they're on the floor, I'm going to send emergency help? Or if you don't see them on the cameras, then maybe you want to take the 30 or 40-minute drive over to their house. But it's a nice, again, safety net that you can turn on and use when you need it. Now, it's not a have to, it's not a want to, but again, I have them. So when I'm gone, if the motion lights go off, I know someone's in the house that shouldn't be there. I can call my emergency contact and tell them to go check the house out. But Arlene, talk a little bit more some of the other devices that are available.
You know, we rarely talk about getting in and out of the car. Again, muscle weakness, debilitation, physical challenges. It's all getting up and down off of toilets and chairs, but we don't really talk that much about getting out of cars, which there are a lot of accidents. People fall right out of their cars because they can't stand up. So Lori actually introduced me to this. It attaches on the hook of the inside of your car where it would latch, the latch. And it's just a great grabber to have some leverage to be able to pull yourself up to stand. There's also a swivel seat that you can get that will actually turn you easily so that you can put both feet out of the car and get out. Okay, so sometimes the movement of getting one foot over the other and turning is very difficult, very painful for some people. So the swiveling really works.
Arlene, does the whole seat swivel, or is just like a lazy Susan on there?
No, there's a little thing that you sit on, and
Okay.
actually you can even have one installed. The power ones are very expensive. I think we've installed one in the 8 years we've been in business because they're very expensive. But they have them that it's like a little lazy Susan.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Again.
And it's great for any kind of like a couch or something like that you have to get off on one side. It's just a great tool.
Yeah.
So, and making life easier for you and keeping you more independent. That's what all these things are for. And then of course like Lori mentioned, senior Uber or Lyft, you don't have to worry about going to your smartphone and worrying about, what to do. You just call. You can call for a senior Uber or Lyft, making life easier.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go. The keyless door lock is wonderful as long as you have the dexterity to be able to push the buttons. Okay. Sometimes, the fingerprinting systems are very expensive, and things like that, or eye recognition. But this is a good alternative, okay, to use, especially giving the key code to the fire department. This will prevent you when you fall in the bathtub and you can't get up to answer the door. It's going to prevent them from having to break in your home in some way. They're going to try to find the least damageable entry point. Okay. So least damage as possible to your home, but this is so much better and easier. And if your kids don't hear from you, they can easily enter the door too. If they rush out, then they're at the shopping center and they forgot to bring your house key with them. They're able to enter your home. So I strongly recommend. It's just a great idea. It's a great tool. And again, you don't have to do all these things at once. Put a budget together, do this one, do that one. Whatever you feel is necessary to, again, keep yourself independent and keep yourself safe.
Now, let's go back to finding the why. So what we did is we put together 3 cases, and we'll go through these kind of quickly because we do want to get to the resources. But let's talk about one of the cases that we actually is close to me because it was actually my mom that fell. But so you have an 80-year-old woman. She's married. She has cancer, and she's fallen 5 times in the bathroom, but no injuries so far. So one of the things we did was we made sure that we let the family doctor know that she's been falling. As soon as the family doctor knew, she made an appointment and she started working with her to assess what was going on and why she was falling. So I asked her, where did you fall? Falling in the bathroom. Why did you fall? Because she was rushing to the toilet. Well, why were you rushing? Well, the medication that she was taking and drinking more to stay hydrated was making her go more often. So she wasn't drinking enough, but she was drinking enough that she would be back up and down and getting into the bathroom, especially at nighttime, was an issue. So I asked her, have you had somebody go look at all of your doctors? So the cancer doctor, her regular doctor, her diabetes doctor, all of those things. Have you had your medication reviewed? No. So we sat them all in front of us and we looked at each one of them. And guess what? Each one of her medication, the common issue was a fall risk. So she had a walker, but she didn't use it. She didn't have it very often. And the bathroom was about 25 feet away. She does have grab bars in the bathroom, and she has a chair in the bathroom that she can sit down if she feels dizzy. So when she was showering, she would stop and she would dry off. So possible solutions that we did was we made doctor's appointment. We got a bedside commode for her. So now she basically goes 1 foot, she steps on she's on the toilet, she's back up, she wipes up, and she goes back to bed. She got a walker with a seat so that if she got dizzy wherever she was, we cleared out the house so that she could move her walker through. We have her drink more water. We got a comfort level, comfort height toilet seat for her with the rails so she could get up and down. We've got her enrolled in an exercise program, and we made sure that she was wiping up any spills so that there was not a risk. And the other thing was I went and threw away all of the rugs in the house except for the dog rug. She wouldn't let me move the dog rug, but we were able to put some grippy tape underneath of that and move it out of the way so that she wouldn't trip on that. We put all in rubberized bath mats. And since then, she has not had a fall since we did all of these things. So let's look at another one. Arlene, you had.
We have 3 minutes left.
Yep.
So
Don't rush yourself.
think-
Just finish what you're doing. You're fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We had a client that we visited and gave her a proposal she wanted to redo her bathroom and this and that. And we said, we really think that you should have grab bars. Oh, I don't need grab bars. She said, I'm not old enough yet. And I said, well, a 2-year-old could even use a grab bar. If they're in the shower, they start slipping. So she ended up buying, because she wanted to save money. She went to the Ace Hardware store and she bought a suction cup grab bar. And this is like my nemesis. It is one of the worst things anyone could buy. If you read the directions, which most people never do, on the inside it says,
Yeah.
do not for weight-bearing use. And it even says warning, not designed for weight-bearing use. Is that really something you want to grab onto to make sure you're not going to fall to the ground when you need it? Not so. Have those professionally installed. It may cost you some money, yes, but the amount of money she spent for caregivers and pain medications, extra pain medications, and all these other things, and what she had to do to her home to accommodate that hip, because it really never healed well, was far greater than installing a grab bar.
Right.
Not to say her daughter had to come, her daughter had to come in from Cincinnati, leave her family there, come to Florida to help take care of her. So it's a disruption for your family. Not that they don't want to do it for you, but to disrupt your family on something that was completely unnecessary isn't good. So educationally wise, we want you to think about the money you're going to spend for prevention, and then the money you would spend if you can't prevent something and you have that injury.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Arlene, in a lot of areas, if you cannot afford to get grab bars, they can be supplied to you by fire departments, area agency on aging, and they'll come in and do it. So please don't use that excuse.
Yeah.
No, that's right. If it's unaffordable, we have so many resources, which we're going to get to, that are unbelievable. We actually have more than what is on the list. So.
Yeah. And I think the other case that we ran into was that, we had a guy in a garage. He tried to step over a spill that was on the garage. He ended up slipping in it and falling, broke his arm, had a lot of bruises. And so we asked him, why did you fall? And he wasn't dizzy. He wasn't anything. He just slipped. He wasn't able to call for help because he didn't have an Alexa device in the garage. He didn't have his cell phone with him. So he had to go into the house. He had trouble getting into the house because he didn't have grab bars on the stairs up to the house, which is another option that you could add in, having those grab bars or a rail. So having something like that outside of the house where there's a step, inside of the garage where there's a step up, helps you up and down the stairs. So what did we do? We told him, make a follow-up appointment for his doctor, go over all of his meds, have better lighting in the garage, have a cell phone in his pocket or an Alexa device in the garage, add those grab bars, wipe up spills, and then engage in an exercise program so that he could, be a little more nimble, and again, one of the OTs said, get yourself in uncomfortable positions so that you can get back up, you can move around, and that motion is lotion. So being able to move is a really good thing. But there's so many little things that you could do. And I hope that you find the why in the fall. But if you look at the resources, Arlene, go over some of these resources for them, because there's so many things out there for us. We need to connect the dots so that we can do that. Go ahead.
One of the easiest things you can do, and this is backwards because, of course, it's a camera, but it's the AARP Home Fit Guide. It's a beautiful publication. It's free. You can have it mailed to your home, or you can contact me and I can do a presentation for your group with the slides and everything. I do a lot of Home Fit Guide presentations to help you stay safe in your home. It's low cost, no cost things to do. And then there's what it would cost you to put in a stair lift. Okay, too, should you need it. But so many low cost, no cost things. And if it's free, I suggest you do it. Okay. And then the PACE program. These are for people that are, it's all inclusive elderly care. I have to say it's one of the best things and it's not only in Florida, okay?
Yes,
If
Gary
you go
Green,
to
Gary Green was with us yesterday and
Yes.
gave us all those resources, and it's just unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. It's one of the best things. If you qualify for it, you are silly not to get on this program. And they are in Hillsborough County now, originally Pinellas. They're still in Pinellas, and they are opening up Sarasota very soon. I think
Yeah.
in March or something. Yeah. Well, they were scheduled. And then Health Buddies. But Lori briefly spoke about that, but it's from Seniors in Service. And they will assign you someone. This is especially great for people who don't have people in the area, or if you have your caregiver is working a lot and they can't, it's really hard for them to call you to make sure that you're okay during the day. And it's hard for them to get you to the doctor because they can't take the time off work. Health Buddies can assist that. And it's just people have formed such great friendships out of this program, and it's just a wonderful thing. They go through extensive training. They're all background checked, and it's one of the best things you could do for your caregiver, for your patient, your loved one that you're taking care of. FAST, F-A-A-S-T, the Florida Alliance for Assistive Services and Technology, great program for hard of hearing, any technology that you need, the telephones. We actually helped someone who, it was a younger person who had a very rare illness that he could only lie flat in his bed, had a TV camera above him, and he would blink, what he needed, and told his mother through this TV camera if he needed to have something done.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, and FAST provided all that.
Wow.
And the Solar Energy Loan Fund, if you call FAST because you need a loan to get environmental changes for adaptive equipment remodeling, even for mold removal, anything like that. Solar Energy Loan Fund is a 501c3 charitable lending corporation, and they had so much money left over that they devoted it to, you can get a ramp, you can get a stair lift, you can get a lot of repairs, roof repairs, everything through this agency, and they serve Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. The number is there. They also are one of the few people who will lend money at low cost lending to people in mobile homes who have such a difficult time getting any sorts of grants or funding. Yeah. So manufactured mobile home people, self is your go-to. Area Agency on Aging for Pasco and Pinellas. Of course, in your area, you can look up Area Agency on Department of Elder Affairs or Area Agency on Aging and find out the one that's close to you. Disability Achievement Center for Pasco Pinellas happens to be in Largo. They have durable medical equipment and other services for you. And then Saving Our Seniors also. If you don't have the ability, if you earn less than $1,500 a month, you're going to get free equipment. You're going to get toilet seats. You're going to get walkers. Sometimes they have wheelchairs. sometimes very few ramps because their funding just gets blown away. But a very good place to go. And then there's so many other things. Findhelp.org for free or reduced cost resources like food, housing, financing, healthcare, and more. We just learned about this a couple months ago. I had the gal speak at our coalition meeting, and it's really, when you refer someone to there, you're going to get a response of the referral.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So please use it. It's free. It's provided for you by our government. It's not anything you have to pay for. Please utilize the things that the government is paying for you to use. One of the things that are near and dear to our hearts is that we do a lot of the VA grants, and they're from $6,800 to, they just raised it to $117,014 for 2024. This will give you a complete home remodeling if you have 100% disability. Who determines that? Your doctor. But you have to be going to the VA for benefits. So many people call us and they say, oh, I really want to get that SHA grant. And I said, oh, okay. Are you going to the VA now for your benefits? No, it takes too long, whatever.
Oh.
Well, okay, that's changed a lot. VA has very, very good service right now.
Yes.
And the prosthetics department, we think that they are just top notch. In fact, they're sending us to Sanibel Island and Fort Myers because no one will go that far after the storms, which we're still recovering from in those areas, to do the stair lifts and the lifts and everything like that. But it's amazing, and it's not a penny out of your pocket. If you served our country in a foreign war, okay, and most of our clients are Vietnam War veterans, okay,
right.
So something that, for whatever reason, is the VA's best kept secret, okay? But if you have problems with that, make sure you can give me a call, give me an email, and I'll help you find out how you can get those in your area. Community and county grants. If you live in an unincorporated area, you can't go to the city of Largo for benefits, okay? You have to go to Pinellas County for your benefit, okay? And they have grants and low-cost loans. So remember, if you're an unincorporated, don't waste your time going to an actual city. You don't have that benefit. You have to go to the county in which you live. One of the best organizations I know of, and again, for free help, is the Parkinson's Parkinson's patients and their caregivers, is the Neuro Challenge organization. It is in Sarasota. They serve Sarasota and Pinellas County. I can't tell you how many people they've helped. They have so much good information. They have so many activities for the people. They have regular Zoom meetings and things. Such a great support group, but especially for the caregivers too, which is
fabulous
organizations. They overlook the caregiver, which I know you don't. They're forefront with you, Linda. And then specific disease foundations, like we just got $500 from the Diabetes Foundation for someone to help and assist with the cost of a ramp. Okay, then we got another from an insurance foundation, but there, whatever illness that you're suffering from, okay, there are foundations for that, and they can help you with money. For improvements like that. And then, of course, our backbone of our coalition is NCOA.org. You can even get a free risk assessment training, but the free risk assessment online by going to NCOA.org, and then in search, do the free risk assessment, falls risk assessment, and it'll pop up for you. But a lot of great information on falls prevention. And that's where you can find your local coalition, Falls Prevention Coalition, for help. The ACL, Administration for County Living, actually funds a lot of things for National Coalition on Aging. And they have money available for improvements and grants. Association of Retired Persons, AARP.org. A lot of information for caregivers, for anything. They just had the seven smart devices that you should probably have in your home on their website this morning. Rebuilding Together TampaBay.org, of course, is our local affiliate. And they have things from mold removal, roofing, helping you to find the environmental needs that you have, and it's all at no cost to you. Okay. Benefits, rural benefits. If you're in a rural area, I'm sorry. If you're in a rural area, of course, you have repair grants for low income and rural area. And if you're 62, own a home and older, that's a number to call. This is a great resource for you to print out and certainly look at when you get your thing. But I'm sorry, I have someone that is just knocking on my door and I have to go answer it. So I'll be right back.
Okay,
Well, listen, I know
Somebody
that
did-
we've taken over a little bit of your time. So we wanted to say thank you so much. And if you have any questions, here's our contact information. Thank
Okay,
you, Linda.
There's one more question in the chat room.
Mhm.
And do you know where someone can look for low income housing?
Yes, again, contact your local city or your county. There's a lot of waiting lists for low income housing. And so again, getting on the list is important, and being able to look at what your resources are is very important. So the problem is, again, like Meals on Wheels, they have 1,000 people on the wait list
Yeah,
for Meals on Wheels just in our county. So the sooner that you can get on the wait list for low income housing, the better it'll be. But again, there's so much out there. It's just finding that, connecting the dots, being able to look at those situations. So again, it's the resources are out there. It's just finding them.
yeah. All right, my friend, thank you so much for being with me today. I will see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So